We're going to start off tonight's Throwback Thursday and be looking at the worst story ever that we have done. Last season, we focused in on Adriana Kirsch, the person who committed suicide, all because of bullying, and the video that you're about to see. It was one of the worst stories that I have ever talked about on this broadcast for seven years. And this is a good one for a chalkboard. I'm going to put on the list of worst stories ever. And I've been doing this show for 7 years, and this is one of the worst stories ever. That involved a resignation of the superintendent and a board that did not listen. To give you the facts here, this was not brought to the school board until days later. I really raised some common sense. Take a look.
A 14-year-old girl is ambushed by bullies in her high school hallway. She's hit in the face with a bottle, kicked, and slapped until she blacks out. As she lies there on the floor, she's even taunted by one of her attackers.
That's what you get, stupid.
What makes the attack even more tragic is that the victim, Adriana Kirsch, took her own life the day after the video was posted on social media. The incident happened here at Central Regional High School in the town of Bayville in southern New Jersey. Some students say bullying is rampant here at the school. And following Adriana's suicide, 3 of the students involved in the attack have been charged with felony assault. I spoke with Adriana's heartbroken father today following the wake for their daughter.
I've watched that video 1,000 times. I've went through it second by second, picking out every detail.
It's just got to be hard to watch your daughter. I mean, this is your
Absolutely.
little girl in this video.
I can't tell you how many times I've cried.
Did the school do enough to help Adriana?
The school has not done enough to help Adriana or any of these kids. I have multiple mothers reaching out to me, sharing their stories.
What do we want? Justice! Adriana! What do we want? Justice! Justice! Adriana!
Angry students staged a walkout from classes today in protest over Adriana's death.
We need justice for her, and we won't stop fighting until we get it.
As you guys are standing here on the side of the road, cars are going by honking their horns in support. It seems like they're agreeing with you.
Yeah, there needs to be a lot of support for this. Everybody, it needs to just stop. They need to put their foot down, and they need to fire half the people at Central Regional High School.
Well, after that story aired, second part of this happened. The superintendent resigned after.
This morning, a bombshell resignation after 14-year-old Adriana Kirsch took her own life 2 days after this video of her being beaten went viral. The superintendent of that New Jersey school district now resigning after a series of interviews he gave caught the school board's attention, releasing a statement saying they have, quote, accepted Trentafilos Parlapanides' resignation and are evaluating all current and past cases of bullying. The video, now part of an official investigation, begins as one team alerts the others that they are recording.
All they were doing was just giggling while they walked down the hall because they knew what they were going to do.
Then Adriana is hit in the face with a water bottle while her classmates laugh. She is kicked and punched repeatedly, her hair pulled as she's trying to get away. 2 students involved have been charged with conspiracy to commit aggravated assault, a 3rd student charged with aggravated assault, and a 4th student charged with harassment. Her father, Michael, is outraged and says the school should have done more.
They brushed it under the rug. And what shocked me is after all that happened, and after I sent all that stuff to the school, the principal tells me it's not their policy to expel students.
But this is not the first bullying incident at Central Regional High School. ABC News given this video by the family of a former student. Olivia, shown here, being beaten by classmates just a year ago. Her family now suing the school for negligence.
She was hit in the head, neck, and back about 30 times from behind. It was videoed and sent across social media.
As tributes pour in for Adriana, a balloon release last night in her hometown to honor her life.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC7 Chicago Eyewitness.
You know what happened? And basically I've said, hey, you don't need to be sweeping this under the rug. If it happens on school property, it happens on school property. Then the board came
In an
along.
emotional board meeting last night,
And a lot of people were angry at that school board saying, hey, and they were tearful. And it's like this. Everybody's got to be held accountable. This is common sense. You need to find your moral compass and say, hey, we made a mistake. We need to figure out how to fix it. It was on school property. If something happens on school property, you need to discipline everyone happened on school property. You don't sit there and say, well, it's not my job to expel. You're the principal. If you didn't do your job right, you would be fired indefinitely. Indefinitely. You've got to make sure it doesn't happen. Inside every bully, there is a coward. And if I were you, I would take advice from Mr. Jimmy Hopkins from Bully. He knows. He stood up to them bullies. Even the townies. Townies, nerds, greasers. Even though it's just a fictional video game, great educational tool. We don't need bullying. We don't need it. It's one of the worst stories ever, and I'm done talking about it. Ever. Did you go to traffic school? If you did, you may have seen something like this. Leaving early, and this is racking up points. Stay with us. Are you concerned about your cholesterol? Maybe you just want to eat those oats, those oat brand cereals like Cheerios, oat brand waffles. Those can help lower your cholesterol. But how many of those oat brands would you have to get to lower your cholesterol? As I told you about this last year, there are some foods out there that can really help, and pinto beans can really be helpful. What are some other foods that you may not know? Here's John Stossel.
And I'm concerned about my cholesterol level, but I don't want to give anything up. What fun is eating if I can't have ice cream and chocolate? Isn't there an easy way to lower cholesterol?
Why would you not eat this stuff? Medical reports that
Suddenly there is. If you will eat 2 tons of height, we can now eat all kinds of appealing things while simultaneously beating cholesterol into submission. It was about a year ago that the Journal of the American Medical Association looked at all the oat brand studies that had been done and came out with this article that helped start the craze.
Doctors have been warning us about the dangers of too much cholesterol. Now say there is a cheap and easy way to reduce your cholesterol count. Eat oat bran.
According to one study funded by, the Quaker Oats Company, people who ate about 35 grams of oat bran per day for 6 weeks lowered their cholesterol an average 3%. Other scientists said, so what if Quaker Oats paid? It's still good research. Other studies where people ate even more oat bran showed an even greater drop in cholesterol. And so the hype was on. Some companies try to scare you.
Time accumulating cholesterol could put your heart at risk. To help you fight cholesterol,
others just tout their brand.
There's no oat bran in Rice Krispies.
Wake up! If you want oat bran, try Cheerios. The result? Never has there been a food fad like this one. Oat bran cereal alone has become $1 billion business, and cereals are just the beginning. Now supermarkets are selling lots of oat bran muffins, breads with oat bran pasta, hamburger buns, cookies, brownies, junk foods with oat bran.
Psychologically, I feel I'm eating a health food.
I eat oat muffins, I'll eat straight bran, I'll drink it with water or milk.
It's very tasty. I snack on it, and the kids love it a lot.
In a way, it's kind of fun. Food companies used to take the starchy part of the oat, grind it, bleach it, and sell it to people in cereals and baked goods. The rest of the oat they considered garbage. They sold that cheap for pet and livestock food. Today, they eat the starchy stuff we used to eat, and we pay more to eat what they used to eat.
It's very, very expensive.
The price of oat bran has doubled because it's high in demand, and you have to grow a lot of oats to get a little bran. The bran is just this tiny part of the whole kernel. And how does it work on cholesterol? Well, oat bran is a fiber. Fiber is the name for any plant ingredient that our digestive systems can't break down. Most fiber just passes right through us. Oat bran is special because it contains soluble fiber. That means once it's inside your body, it mixes with body fluids to form a gel. This gel then absorbs cholesterol that's also floating around down there, and since the gel passes from the body without being digested, so does the cholesterol. And good riddance, I say. No wonder oat bran products are selling well. Except, you ever wonder if you get enough oat bran to matter?
Recently, a very serious topic has come up at breakfast. Oat bran. But that doesn't mean you have to be so serious. Kellogg introduces common sense oat bran waffles from Eggo.
Sounds good. But what Kellogg doesn't say in its commercials is that to get the 35 grams of oat bran the study says is needed, you'd have to eat 18 of these waffles. And what about Cheerios?
You want oat bran? Cheerios. Oat bran every morning. You gonna eat the whole box?
Well, you would have to eat not quite the whole box, but 5 cups to get the cholesterol-lowering effect. I didn't figure this out myself. These calculations were made by a consumer group, the Center for Science and the Public Interest. They point out that companies can call something an oat bran product even if there's only 1 flake of oat bran in it. Cheerios, at least, are not as bad as Kellogg's Muesli cereal. It says here, provide oat bran. But you'd have to eat 9 servings of this stuff. That's a whole box full. You'd have to eat more than a box full of this cereal. 23 servings, yet still it brags about oat bran. Sick of cereal? Well, then how about an oat bran donut? Sorry, you'd have to eat 8 of these. And muffins? You'd have to eat 12 of these. You'd have to eat 11 of these oat bran bagels. 50 Pritikin rice cakes with oat bran. 90 Health Valley oat bran animal cookies. Get the nerve of some of these companies. This one says these are unique because they're rich in oat bran. When we asked Health Valley about that, they said, well, we've changed the box. Another problem is that when you eat some of these products, you get much more fat than oats. This is especially true for the donuts and muffins. Hostess brags that its 2 muffins equal a bowl of oatmeal. Well, they are equal in oats, but the muffins contain 3 times the calories and 8 times the fat. You ever think that with a muffin you're getting more fat than oat bran?
I never thought about that, no.
So think about that next time someone says,
Everybody's talking about oat bran, but
this is not to say that all oat bran products are light on oat bran. 1 big bowl of any of these cereals will get you the recommended dose without a lot of fat or salt. The hot cereal has the most oat bran. And these products are good too. Joseph's Pita Bread, Arrowhead Muffin Mix, and Pancake Mix, Health Valley Fettuccine. And if you're sick of oats, you should know that all beans, grains, fruits, and vegetables contain soluble fiber. Beans have the most. In fact, if you eat just this many cooked pinto beans, or this many lentils or peas, you'll get the same amount of soluble fiber as 35 grams of oat bran. Now, not enough research has been done to prove it, but scientists believe these are just as effective on cholesterol. They just haven't been hyped as much. And hype is what this is all about.
But John, suppose that you do eat a good oat bran cereal that gives you your 35 grams, yeah? Does it make a difference?
Well, yes, as the studies showed, there were improvements. Some people had no improvement, but some people had 3%, 10% improvement. But the Heart Association, even the people who did the study said these aren't conclusive. Yeah. And the Heart Association says it's minor compared to the big stuff like quitting smoking or eating less saturated fat, exercising more. That's what really counts.
What about this new thing, psyllium, P-S-Y-L-L-I-U-M? Now I hear that's going to be, is that a miracle? It's going to be serious.
It's a grain that they use in laxatives like Metamucil. They find it's high in soluble fiber. Maybe it will help. They're arguing about what they can say in the box for it, but it's no miracle either.
What do you eat for breakfast?
Eggs. And my cholesterol is fine. Why? You eat oat bran?
I eat oat bran. My cholesterol is high. My husband not only eats oat bran, he puts raw oat bran on it, and then he puts the wheat bran as well, but then he's from California.
That explains everything.
You know what can help lower your cholesterol? Garlic. Garlic can help lower your cholesterol. And you think I'm making this all up? Let me play you a clip from Emerald Green. I'm going to show you. I think it was the right clip.
Hi, I'm Alexis Sainio, a two-time silver medalist in freestyle trampoline, and this is
not only season the flour. We're gonna see. So what we?
Okay.
So we're gonna take our chicken.
Nope, that wasn't it.
How's the tinted angel soft coming?
I think this is it.
We're gonna start with the thighs, skin side down.
Listen.
So now what I need you to do, now that I've got the chicken in here, so we have an onion, we've got lemons, which we want to cut the lemons like in quarters. We have cloves of garlic, that many cloves of garlic.
That's a lot. We're gonna use all of this?
Another name for this dish sometimes is called lemon chicken. Another name is called 40 cloves of garlic. It is dynamite. Wait till you taste it. We're going to add the...
No. There was a clip from here, and I remember it saying that garlic can help lower your blood pressure and your cholesterols. Oh, there it is. This is the one I was looking for.
Again, more lemon.
Yes.
I love garlic.
Yes.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a few garlic cloves.
It says garlic can help lower blood pressure and cholesterol levels. That's exactly right. Garlic can really help. If you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol levels, cook something with garlic in it. That amount, like if you have 1 clove of garlic, 2 cloves of garlic, it can really help lower your blood pressure and your cholesterols. Even Oprah can do that. That's something we've not talked about last season, but I'm glad I brought it up. So therefore, now you know. Alright. Did you go to traffic school when you got your license suspended or got points? Well, you're about to see what happens when some people left school early because they didn't want it and they just want the points. You're about to see hidden camera footage that could really help out. They could really see what happens when no one is watching and everyone's just sleeping in class. Stay with us. Do you think you consider yourself a good driver? If you did, you probably missed out on what happened. Now, I bought this on eBay, and it's really an eye-opener experience for you to see. We talked about it. We talked about this on the broadcast years ago, but this was before I bought the tape. But now, since I got the tape, I can now show you this. And don't worry if you missed it on the GMB YouTube channel. We're going to play it for you again next week on the original channel as well. Traffic school is all about trying to get your points back. Trying to get your license unsuspended. But let's find out what happens to those driving classes. Safety, those classes that you see. Here's Bob McEwen.
Bourbonnais, Illinois, 50 miles south of Chicago. A tractor-trailer loaded with almost 50,000 pounds of steel heads for this railroad crossing. At the wheel, this man, John Stokes. Just up the tracks, barreling in from Chicago at more than 70 miles an hour, was the legendary passenger train, the city of New Orleans. What happened next on March 15, 1999 depends on who's doing the telling. Driver John Stokes says his truck was trapped on the tracks by the crossing barriers. But the engineer says he saw the truck driver trying to beat the train by steering his 18-wheeler around the crossing barriers as they started to come down. Either way, there's no dispute about the tragic result. The train slammed into the truck. 11 passengers were killed. 117 were injured. Truck driver John Stokes walked away. Stokes, whose driving record at the time included 15 moving violations and 9 accidents causing personal injury or property damage, or both. Why was a driver with a record like that still on the road? The answer is simple. John Stokes had a piece of paper like this one. Because according to the law in Illinois, though his driver's license had been suspended, he was allowed to get it back simply by attending something called traffic school and receiving what's known as a completion certificate.
How many people are killed by motor vehicle collisions every year in this country?
What is traffic school? It's where drivers are retrained and then put back on the road ostensibly as safer drivers. Laws vary, but in over half of U.S. states, drivers with too many tickets can attend traffic school to have violations removed from their records. In some states, courts order drivers to traffic school before they get their suspended licenses back. And in many states, people who are not problem drivers can qualify for a discount on their auto insurance if they attend traffic school. But the question is, do these schools really accomplish what they claim? Do they change attitudes, reduce accidents and violations, and make drivers safer? The answer, some say, is no.
Here for the points reduction.
And as you'll soon see on our hidden cameras, how can they work if a student can earn a certificate, even while asleep? Like this man who we saw snoozing his way through one class.
Be aware of all school zone signs.
Or worse,
Then we need the $50.
if students can simply pay to get a completion certificate without spending a single minute in class.
Better seatbelts?
We should say that many individual traffic schools do a good job, like this one in upstate New York. Students pay up to $60 for the course.
This is something I've basically devoted my life to. It's something that I truly believe in. Do you ever hear people that say, oh, I drive better when I'm drunk?
Chris Jarman, who heads the Driving School Association of New York and who runs this one, says the traffic schools can work, but only if the courses are taught properly. Jarman says that he's trained thousands of drivers to be safer on the road.
We're trying to provide a quality program to people who really want to learn something.
We sat in on one of Chris Jarman's classes. He began by telling his students exactly what's at stake.
The number one reason why I'm here offering this course is hopefully to reduce crashes and deaths out on the road.
He then imparted safety tips to do that on subjects like braking techniques.
Stop on your brakes, stay on the brakes, and then steer the wheel to get around the object that you're about to hit. And
dealing with road rage.
If you use your vehicle in a violent way, that's road rage.
How attitude affects driver behavior.
Attitude controls behavior.
He talked about drunk driving, how and where accidents are most likely to happen. And finally,
your driving is a job that requires all of your focus, all of your attention.
But it wasn't all a lecture. Chris Jarman also asked his students questions and got them involved in a group discussion.
Anybody have an example of someone losing their temper?
People start cursing, they're like, pull over, and they go.
And there was a video, though Jarman used it to supplement the lecture and the discussion.
Let's stop and get your ideas about this before going on.
All right, so how would you define what an attitude is?
And as required by New York state law, Jarman kept his students in class for a full 6 hours.
I want to thank you folks for being here today.
But are all of these schools doing the job Chris Jarman is? We sent Dateline staffers out with hidden cameras to find out.
Hi. How are you? Here for the points reduction.
This traffic school in New York City offers a course provided by the National Traffic Safety Institute. That might sound like a government agency, but the NTSI is a multi-million-dollar private business. Its course approved in numerous states and taken by hundreds of thousands of drivers a year.
Driver's license? $50 fee.
Remember, in New York, the class is supposed to last at least 6 hours. But when one of our producers arrived for a 1 p.m. class, this traffic school employee told them they'd be done in half that time.
How long is it?
There's only about 3 of you today, so you should be finished before 4 o'clock.
Before 4 o'clock?
The NTSI says its course should be led by an instructor, with group discussion, a lecture, and videos.
So what do we learn, basically?
Watch the films and you will learn how to drive defensively.
And what about the teacher?
Are you the instructor as well?
The instructor is coming.
This car is not under control.
But once inside the classroom, there's no instructor in sight, just a tape playing on the VCR.
Special conditions call for special driving techniques and skills.
Like the video we saw at Chris Jarman's school, the one shown here covered such safety topics as defensive driving and the dangers of alcohol. But in this class, an instructor like Jarman apparently won't be showing up. Here, the students seem to be pretty much on their own.
So an instructor come in here? This is it? Oh, this is it? So I can read.
We don't know if these other students are good drivers taking the class to get a discount on insurance, or drivers trying to get points taken off their license. Either way, the NTSI workbook promises an eye-opening learning experience. None, apparently, for this man.
That driver behind or ahead of you.
We watched him sleep for more than 10 minutes. No one tried to wake him. And it doesn't take long for the other student to nod off too.
Assuming neither driver is under the influence of alcohol.
In fact, he gets so bored, he actually leaves for a while. As for the first student, when he wakes up, he decides to check out the magazine rack at the back of the classroom.
Courtesy should be extended to all.
A staff member finally does appear, but only to change videos.
Okay, let me show you where let's film.
How long is this?
This is about 20 minutes.
It's your deal.
When the second tape ends, traffic school does too, with no lectures, no questions, and no discussion.
So in place of the other videos and the lecture, I'll just give you a workbook that you can bring home.
Rather than the required 6 hours, or the promised 3, it lasts just over an hour and a half.
20 minutes of ride, that's a pretty good deal. It started at 1, but we could have been here for 7 hours. 7 hours? It's supposed to be a 6-hour course.
Breaks.
Yeah. So it's...
And all the students, our staffer, and the 2 who fell asleep, get that all-important certificate showing they've successfully completed traffic school, allowing them either to cut 10% from their insurance rates or deduct points from their driving records.
So drive defensively.
Thanks.
2 traffic schools, each with a drastically different approach to driver safety. One with a teacher, the other without. One with students required to participate. The other, well, you get the picture. But both with the power to put dangerous drivers back on the road. Drivers like John Stokes, who was involved in that train crash that killed 11 people and injured 117 last year. Incredibly, despite his long, flawed driving record, Stokes was given his license back. And believe it or not, when he was caught again for speeding, an Illinois court allowed him to attend traffic school yet again. We found him back behind the wheel, still driving.
Remember, nothing lasts forever, and you'll get it.
It's one thing to attend a course with lax standards, but we wondered about something else, something more egregious than cutting class time. What if you could get a traffic school completion certificate without spending a single minute in class? We were about to find out. And we're going to show you what can happen when you bribe an instructor to pay to get you out with one piece of paper. That part of the story when we come back. Stay with us. Returning to our story. You've seen what happens in traffic schools. Sleeping. Not paying attention. Instructors putting in videos. 90 minutes of class.
other than the 6 hours. What can happen if you, that's right, you can pay to get that piece of paper and get back on the road and get your points deducted by bribery? Once again, here's Bobby Kuhn.
It's happened to almost everyone. That instant on a fast-moving highway or at a busy intersection when you find yourself a split second away from disaster. That's when you hope the drivers around you have been well trained in traffic safety and respect the rules of the road. But each year, over 40,000 Americans are killed in auto accidents. And traffic school instructor Chris Jarman says the main reason is driver error. So if most drivers think that they're above average, from your perspective, what do you think they are?
I have to say that, there's a large majority that are just way below average.
In many states, the way those problem drivers are retrained is traffic school. Some are better than others. But what if certain traffic schools put those drivers back on the road without teaching them anything at all? In Florida, which along with California and New York is among the leaders in the number of traffic schools, we were told that some schools actually sold certificates without requiring attendance. But when we visited 40 schools in the Miami area, not one would sell us a certificate. In fact, some owners told us it would be illegal if they did so.
Our operation day involves Americana Driving School.
It was a different story in California. We went along as undercover officers visited several Los Angeles area traffic schools, like this one.
Just for my own curiosity, how long would I have to go to driving school if I did do this?
It's an 8-hour class.
8 hours.
Okay. And all I do is sit there and tell you what not to do.
By California law, the course offered by this school in LA must be 8 hours long, with safety videos and classroom lectures. But listen to how this instructor describes traffic school to an undercover officer.
I did it once, 17 years ago. Boy, it was the boringest thing.
Driving school?
That big class. I thought it was horrible. So that's what I did.
Then, without having to attend a single minute of the required 8-hour course, the officer simply pays his money and walks out with a certificate showing he's completed it.
Okay, Benita, I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay.
In all, 5 of the 10 traffic schools visited by the California DMV sold completion certificates without requiring course attendance. In New York, we approached 5 schools, and 4 would not sell a certificate.
During this time, you are not watching the road.
But remember that school in New York City? The one where nap time seemed to be part of the curriculum?
I'm just really busy right now. Is there any way I can do this?
Another Dateline staff member asks if she can avoid attending traffic school altogether, yet still get the certificate showing she'd completed the course.
So there's no way I can just pay?
What?
There's no way I can just pay?
It doesn't take much persuasion.
Okay.
And in a few minutes,
After I pay and you give me the certificate,
for $50 she gets what she wanted, a completion certificate. And if she were a problem driver, with points for violations on her record, that certificate would allow her to erase them.
as soon as I get this, they will take off 4 points from this record. So after I pay,
Our staffer is also told she's now eligible to get a discount on her automobile insurance.
this is what you show your insurance company, the temporary certificate, and this tells them that I did what? That you attended the class.
That completion certificate also includes the signature of someone named John Segretti. Who is John Segretti? This man.
I've spent most of my life at making safer drivers, at researching our program, at making it work and making it have a difference in people's lives.
Mr. Segretti is president of the National Traffic Safety Institute, the NTSI, one of the leading providers of traffic school courses in the U.S.
Our bottom line in our program is to make a positive impact on people's driving behavior.
His company doesn't operate that school in New York, but they did approve it to teach the NTSI course. And Segretti says their involvement doesn't end there.
We train and monitor and give in-service training and evaluate each instructor involved in the course.
When you say monitored, how closely and how often?
That would be sporadically based on reports or evaluations that we may see on them.
Segretti says the effectiveness of his course comes from a technique called facilitation.
Facilitation meaning what?
Meaning that we try to teach the class in a circle, in a group setting, where our instructor tries to have them interact with each other.
So you're talking about engaging the students somehow in order to change their attitude.
Absolutely.
Getting their attention.
The only way.
Making them participate.
They have to participate. We have a philosophy that we must involve the student in the class for them to come away with a benefit.
But as you've already seen on our hidden cameras, the only facilitation in this class was when someone changed the videotape. And as for student involvement,
each student receives a workbook.
Right. And what do they do with that book?
They work with it during the 6 hours, and it gives them exercises and sample questions. You don't go to sleep in the back of the room.
Really? Apparently no one told that to the students our camera caught snoozing at this NTSI course in New York City.
As you can see, she could not avoid hitting the rear of the stopped vehicle.
And the workbook that NTSI President Segretti says is supposed to be used during the 6-hour course?
So in place of the other videos and the lecture, I'll just give you a workbook that you can bring home.
As you saw, it was handed out as homework at the end of the class. A class with no lecture, no group discussion, essentially no interaction with the students whatsoever.
That's it?
And this class lasted only about an hour and a half.
All right, let's take a look at your curriculum.
Okay.
We showed our hidden camera tape to the NTSI president.
Granted, this may be an agency that we have, and certainly I would look into that, but I can't comment further than that. I don't know what happened there.
Well, what happened, Mr. Segretti, was pretty clear. How do you explain that?
I don't have an explanation for you today other than to say that we monitor these things, we look into them, as well as the Department of Motor Vehicles. I know that's not something that we condone or goes on all over the country. That I know. We may have a bad apple here. In the middle of New York City, there are a few.
And perhaps some of those bad apples don't fall too far from the tree. Just look at the driving records of the people who run this school. They have a history of suspended and revoked driver's licenses themselves. Remember this woman? Her license was suspended because she didn't show up to court for a traffic violation. And the man who agreed to take $50 to hand over a completion certificate? He also once had his license suspended, then revoked. We caught up with him outside on the street.
Am I being dangerous?
That's what that camera does. At first, when we told him we'd bought a certificate without having to attend traffic school, he expressed disbelief.
You say you don't know about this.
I don't know about this.
Would you mind looking at this for me? This is videotape. Is that not you? I'm pretty sure that's you.
Then we showed him the tape from our hidden camera.
That is you, is it not?
Yeah.
Well, you just told our associate producer that she can simply pay the money.
No, I'm not gonna see that thing, man.
We asked him to take another look.
Do you not think that by selling these certificates, rather than requiring people to sit through the 6 hours of instruction, you're potentially letting dangerous drivers back out on the road?
I mean, that's it.
If you take this on a whole, this has been a very good program, okay? Not every instructor out there is a bad apple. Not every delivery agency is a bad apple.
Ken Ringley, the Deputy Commissioner of New York's Department of Motor Vehicles, admits he doesn't know how many bad apples are out there. He says his agency simply has not had the resources to find out.
Is there anyone assigned to going out into the field on a consistent basis and dropping in to the people who give these traffic courses and seeing how they're doing?
On a consistent basis, no.
But as we showed you in California, that state's Department of Motor Vehicles has done just that. And this is the result.
And then the right to remain silent.
Traffic school employees caught selling completion certificates, taken away in handcuffs.
Watch your head.
The question is, will the DMVs in other states now get just as tough? The New York Department of Motor Vehicles says it is investigating this school for possible violations of the law, including fraud. New York has recently enacted new legislation it hopes will clean up the traffic school business.
if you come back a year from now, I certainly hope that it's going to be much more difficult for you to get a certificate like you did.
This past summer, Illinois enacted a new law making it tougher for bad drivers to take traffic school classes and stay on the road. And the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles says an aggressive traffic school monitoring campaign is now in place here. By the way, that traffic school we visited in New York City is no longer in business.
It ain't no longer in business. So what is the moral compass here? When we return, we have some common sense. Stay tuned. Before we put on the common sense alert, I want to let you know this traffic school issue, the crash course thing. Not only did we talk about traffic school, that's what I want to point out. Not only did we not talk about it in January 2019, the crash course, I think we talked about it back in November. I think I might have a clip of when I talked about it. So, as the 1 year anniversary of the whole past school year of all she, her husband, and her children were both in a here's a clip. Yeah, that's my perspective. Or like this story. Oh, not this one. One probably today, or who was taking on the mom and who went undercover. So I may show you this one probably today or sometime on Saturday.
Illinois, 50 miles south.
Yes, we talked about this, and come up on Saturday, I'm going to tell you all about this. I showed you this Throwback Thursday, and you saw this back in 2022. So what I forgot to mention was you saw my reaction a couple seasons ago. You saw it here at Throwback Thursday, and now you're going to see it coming up on Saturday with some common sense. And speaking of which, here's our common sense alert. Okay, where do we begin over here? First of all, we all know the obvious. If you want to get your points reduced or get your reduced claims, you take traffic school. Some states have laws. California and New York are very strict about this. Some states allow like 6-hour courses. California's 8 hours. I mean, you look up traffic school laws in Texas. I mean, look at the traffic school laws in California. California traffic school laws really requirements include. That was weird. A driver's license, minor moving violation, no previous traffic, no alcohol and drug use. I mean, the rules of traffic school, the rules, you have to have valid driver's license and your ticket, infraction. So basically it's like this. I mean, a lot of you guys want to sit in there and go, it's that simple. Wake your ass up and listen. Listen to the instructors. When you're in school, you slept in class, I wake up. Let me tell you something. If I was a driving instructor, those teachers at that traffic school, and I saw people sleeping, I would have stopped and said, hold on, folks. I think they have a great example here. We have a driver who agreed to come over here and is falling asleep. Harley, wake up. I would set guidelines and rules and say there'll be no sleeping, there'll be no eating. You're here for 6 hours a day because you chose to be here. You were court ordered to. And you will not violate that court order. No electronic devices. no electronic devices, no earphones, no earbuds, no food, no sleeping, because this is very important. And don't be bribing your way out of it. As you saw in that tape, these people, you know what they did? They paid $50 just to get the thing, and get out of here. Violation of laws. Every state has got to be tough when it comes to traffic school and getting your license back and getting your points reduced. There needs to be tougher restrictions. No payment, no nothing. You sit in there with the instructor 6 to 8 hours a day. Done. That's it. It's like going to regular school for 6.5 to 7 hours. Now, y'all may sit there and think like, oh, you never went to traffic school, you never have a license. Well, you're damn right I don't have a license. I don't drive. It's one of the main reasons why I take the city bus or ride a bike. Safest ever. You don't need a license to ride a bicycle. You don't even need a license to ride the RTA. But if I was starting to drive and I got tickets, you know what would happen to me? If they told me to go to traffic school, I would take a day off of work to go to traffic school. A day off of work to say, you know what, I need to take some days off of work so I can go to traffic school. Then we'd be more understandable. It's like, well, then don't they do it at night anymore? No, they do it these times, and there would be no way to negotiate their way out. I had to go talk to the instructor. So my boss goes to the instructor and is like, hey, you're instructing this, well, why am I employee, blah, 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 so to this and this. I mean, there ain't no way. I'm not a lawbreaker. I follow every law there is by the state of Texas. And all the city ordinances that are put in place by the city of Corpus Christi. Hence the terms. City ordinance, federal law, state law. We have to understand what goes on in these traffic schools. Believe me, if they caught me paying to give them these certificates, I'd be in hell. I'd be in hell and in jail. You know why? Because I accepted the bribe. I would have taken that money and say, no, this is wrong. I'm not doing it. I would have said, no, take it back, get your ass back in there. That's what I would have said. You take it, here's your money, get your ass back in there and watch. That's how it would have been done. But no, they don't want to be like that. You know what they want to do? They want to simply sit up here and say, well, let's just go for 90 minutes and then we'll be done. No 6 hours. Because in New York, it's 6 hours. I don't know how long traffic school is in Texas. I have to ask an officer. Or, I don't know. I don't know how long a traffic school, because we know from watching this, 8 hours in California, 6 hours in New York. Not in Texas, I don't know. Unless they had someone who taught driving instructor told me how long. I don't know how long in Texas. I don't know. But what I do know is this needs to stop immediately. If it's going on here in Texas, they need to simply pull the plug and say, enough is enough. We as society have the ability to choose a law. You know what that law would be? No fraud, no bribery, and no skipping traffic school. Basically, the beer, the band, and the bar stool. That's all it is, basically, a slang term. The beer, the band, the bar stool. Much like Narnia. The Witch, the Lion, and I don't never watch that crap. I mean, I'm a big Disney fan, but I try to avoid, like, I don't even know what to say. So what's the bottom line here, boys and girls? Take traffic school very, very seriously. Grown folks out there, you too need to take this very seriously. So by the time you watch this episode today and on Saturday, then you can take this very seriously and simply say to yourselves, wow, I think you got me so you can type in your comments saying, hey, you know, you've got me prepared for traffic school, and I'm going to start taking it very seriously. Exactly. No briberies, no nothing. You're going to think by simply saying, oh, you want me to go in there and bribe? No. Don't go in there and be paid to get your certificate. Sit in there for 8 hours a day. If it means you got to take off of work to do that crap, fine. But your boss has to be understandable because you have a court order. And look, I don't drive. But if I did drive, that would be a whole different story. I would not pay to get my certificate, get my points reduced. I would not even stay 90 minutes. I would be in there for 6 to 8 hours a day. In there. Listening. Being taught. There being an instructor. That one expert, he'd be a great teacher. I mean, if he was still here, he'd be a great example. We have to understand, if you're paying to get a certificate and to get your license reduced, are you joking? Are you freaking kidding me? It means people would be like, I don't want to be here. I want to go play Mario Kart. I want to go do some karaoke. I want to go hang out with my friends. Let me tell you. You are not competent enough to make a decision about whether or not you should be continuing, about whether or not you are not competent enough to make a decision about whether you should stay here or not. And certainly the law requires you in your state to be in traffic school for a minimum of 6 to 8 hours. Some states is 6, some states 8. And certainly not one person in that room would even sleep or bribe their way out of traffic school. Even then, the federal government can come in and look at this and go, what the fuck is going on? And even then, they may raise some moral compass and says, you know what? We're going to have these people arrested. It may seem boring to you. That's what it is. It can be fun. Try it out. Try something new. You're learning something new every day. Take it from somebody who knows. I've seen it. I've walked a mile in your shoes. You may say, well, you don't know what I do. I don't have to. I've been in your shoes. I've always been in people's shoes. In desperate situations. There comes a time to where I say to myself, okay, what would I do if I was in this person's situation? That kid who was sleeping right there, what I would have done? Would I would have stayed awake and continued to go into class? Or would I just continue sleeping and not care? I would have woke my ass up and listened what was going on. It could really help save my life. Because if I decide to have children one day, I gotta put them through this. I gotta put them through this mess. Take this thought with you. I want you to say to yourself, I will not pay to get out. I will not skip. I will not leave early. I will stay in there for 6 to 8 hours a day at that traffic school and get my license reduced and get my insurance claims discounted. I will do whatever it takes to get my license back. If you say those words, you too could be a great example for other future drivers out there. And you better believe me. If you're going to sit there and think, are you going to say those same things you said on the broad on this Throwback Thursday on Saturday? You're darn tootin'. You are darn tootin' that I am. And even then, I would not even raise a finger. A finger. I wouldn't like to raise a finger to all you drivers that just, so all you people out there that, I hate to use the finger, but to all you people out there that accept the bribes for people who want to for $50 bribes, at full force. We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. Come up on Friday, we're gonna have more of Sammy the Bull Gravano, the man who brought down John Gotti. And as well, I told you that we're going to tell you more about cigarettes next week. But that other report from John Martin, we're going to have that for you come up on Friday. And the other parts of the John Gotti interview, we're going to have that for you next week. So, to not get you confused, part 2 of Diane Sawyer's interview with Sammy the Bull, that was on prime time. We're gonna see that. The turning point edition, we're gonna go to that next week. Not to get you confused. So look, Phil. I'll let you know. I'll let you know on Fridays. That's it for Throwback Thursday, and I apologize for flipping the bird. I'm not that type of person, but there's some part of me that raises common sense and wants to flip the bird. I am not one of those people that flip the bird. And if you took offense to that, I am very sorry. For all of us here at YouTube, give me a break, stop believing, speak concentration, not turn, no jaywalking. Have a good night.